methane super-emitters spotted across Appalachian Basin. A growing body of satellite and aerial monitoring data is revealing large methane releases across oil and gas operations in the Appalachian Basin, suggesting the region may experience more high-volume emission events than previously documented. A recent analysis by the Gas Leaks Project and Earthworks identified dozens of methane super-emitter events at facilities in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. The findings rely on publicly available data from Carbon Mapper, a platform that aggregates observations from satellites and aircraft designed to detect methane plumes. The Environmental Protection Agency classifies a super-emitter event as a methane release of at least 100 kilograms per hour. Researchers documented 96 such plumes between November 2024 and November 2025. At the time they were detected, those plumes were collectively estimated to release more than 162,000 pounds of methane per hour. The emissions were linked to roughly 70 oil and gas facilities across the basin. Researchers were able to associate potential operators with about 59% of the plumes. The report does not determine the precise cause of each release, noting they could stem from equipment malfunctions, operational issues, or other factors. However, the analysis points to the outsized role that intermittent but high-volume emissions can play in overall methane totals if they remain undetected. Satellite monitoring highlights concentrated emission events. The study underscores how remote sensing technologies are changing the way methane emissions are tracked in major production regions. Satellite imagery and aerial surveys now allow researchers to detect large plumes across broad geographic areas, capturing releases that may not appear in conventional emissions reporting systems. By combining different monitoring tools, analysts can identify emission hotspots and track patterns over time. Across the Appalachian Basin dataset, 96 methane plumes were detected during the one-year monitoring period. These emissions were tied to approximately 70 oil and gas facilities. Potential operators were identified for just under 60% of the observed events. While individual plumes may last only hours or days, repeated events can significantly affect methane inventories, particularly when they occur at large production sites. Repeated emissions raise questions about community impacts. The analysis also identified facilities where methane releases appeared more than once during the monitoring period. 16 sites were observed emitting methane on multiple days, while roughly 30% of the identified locations showed emissions during every observation window across the year. Researchers say these recurring plumes may indicate persistent operational issues or equipment failures that remain unresolved. To better understand potential exposure concerns, the research team compared the plume locations with PSE Healthy Energy's methane risk map. That tool estimates where hazardous co-pollutants associated with oil and gas operations could pose elevated risks under certain conditions. 28 methane plumes overlapped with areas where between roughly 1,200 and nearly 5,800 residents could face higher potential exposure to benzene. At least one high school was also located within one of those risk zones. Benzene is a carcinogenic compound associated with oil and gas production. Studies have linked long-term exposure to increased risks of cardiovascular disease, several cancers, and other health concerns. While the report does not measure actual exposure levels, the overlap highlights broader questions about how methane monitoring intersects with community health risks. The findings also reflect a broader shift in methane accountability. As satellite systems, aircraft surveys, and advanced analytics become more widely used, independent datasets are offering a clearer view of emissions across large oil and gas regions. Researchers say these tools could support faster detection of leaks and provide additional data for regulators and operators seeking to reduce methane releases from natural gas infrastructure.